Good afternoon, traders, and welcome to today's daily market review. It is Friday, the 22nd of April. My name's Carl Woodhouse, and today we're going to be looking at the UK mining stock Anglo and American. Now, on Wednesday, a couple of days ago, I done a daily market review on Rio Tinto. They were experiencing some problems with their auto haul system, and on the technical view of the market, it looked like a possible reversal was on the cards. Well, since Wednesday, the market has entered into our first zone. So we had identified two zones. The first zone was 24.1850 at 24.5382. Now, yesterday the market sharply moved into our zone, and then we've begun to see a reversal. Now the market has reached a low of 23.1180, which is a good 100 points from our identified zone. So for those of you who got in on an aggressive time frame and entry technique, would have benefited from this move. I still believe we're going to see a move into our second zone of 24.9970 at 25.50 before the significant move to the downside takes place. If you remember, on our time analysis, we were looking at around about the 3rd of May for our significant move. But well done for those of you who caught the move off of the zone. And for those of you who are still waiting, I think if we wait for the second zone to be penetrated, again, we'll begin to see the significant move to the downside to our identified profit targets. Now, many times in a sector where we get high probability reversals, you'll generally see the same within another stock in the same sector. Now, in terms of Anglo American, we have exactly that. We also have an ABC or AB equals CD correction, which has bounced off a identified zone. Our two identified zones for Anglo American, zone 1 is 8.1274 at 8.2951, and our second most significant zone is 8.6287 at 8.9022. Now, this week, many of you have seen that there's been a shareholder revolt against the lucrative pay package of the company's chief executive, and this is causing some grief, and the share price is starting to bear the weight. So in Anglo American, again, if we apply our four elements to the market, so we're looking at again momentum, pattern, price and time. Okay, so in terms of our pattern, again we have an AB equals CD pattern, again very similar to the Rio Tinto pattern that we identified. We also have our momentum, which again is overbought. And if we look at time, and this is a very interesting point to mark out, if we look at the time histogram for the next high probability reversal, again we can see spikes in and around the 3rd of May. Okay, and this mirrors the same analysis on Rio Tinto. Okay, so we have Rio Tinto, which has entered into our first zone, made a around about 100 point drop to the downside, but we're still waiting for the significant zone 2 to be penetrated before we'll be looking to our most significant move to the downside. And with Anglo American, we can see the same pattern price behavior taking place. Again, we have an AB equals CD pattern entering into our first zone. Now our first zone, again 812.74 to 829. If we look at the price currently, we can see that we're currently trading at 711. Okay, or we've seen a low of 711. Again, this is a 100-point move to the downside from our first identified zone. Okay, so this mirrors the price behavior which is taking place within Rio Tinto. Okay, so this is a common occurrence within sectors when you do this type of analysis, especially when you're using pattern analysis. You'll generally find if you can identify a harmonic pattern or an AB equals CD correction in one, that it will mirror the stock or stocks within the same sector, and then you will generally get the time estimates in and around the same times. So for Anglo American, we have an AB CD correction, we have a overbought indicator, we have our time analysis, and also we have our 2 Fibonacci price points. So zone 2, 862.87 to 890.22. Just like with Rio Tinto, it's my preferred zone, the second zone, before we see the most significant move. But again, for those of you who use an aggressive entry technique on the lower time frames, could well have benefited from the 100-point move to the downside. In terms of our entry technique, again with Rio Tinto, we're going to be looking for a moving average cross. We currently have the cross on Anglo American. Okay, now in terms of a swing low violation before we enter the trade, that will be down to you and how aggressive you want to be. 697.36 is a good start point, or 662.10. But again, we at Trade Simple, Trade Smart are going to be waiting for the penetration into the second zone at 862.87, 890.22, and we're going to be looking for the same for penetration into our second zone on Rio Tinto at 24.99, 25.50. Again, we're going to be keeping an eye out for the 2 identified dates, which is the 3rd of May on Rio Tinto, and also on Anglo and American. So once we get the significant move on Anglo and American, we're going to be looking for our first target in and around 469.65, and then if it continues to there, we'll be trailing our stops and looking for a move below 238. Again, when you use this type of analysis, getting into the trade will be different for those who are more aggressive as to those who are more conservative. And also in regards to your profit targets, keep them simple. Generally, we look for some kind of swing point, as we have here, 469.65, but we do also trail our stops and take profits where appropriate. So Anglo American, we're looking for a move to the downside. The more significant zone is 862.87 to 890.22, but 812.74 to 829.51 has proven to be a strong point of resistance.